So I think it's safe to assume that yesterday wasn't quite the performance we were hoping to follow up from that win against Fulham with. But you know what? A win's a win. And at this stage in the season, when we've got the likes of Liverpool, Man United, City, Sheffield United, Leicester coming up in the next 5, 6 games, getting 3 points on the board is the most important thing. And despite the performance, the way we were able to open up West Ham with the 2 goals we did score is exactly why I've got so much faith in Mikel Arteta's system. And I think we've got to accept that we're still very early on into his tenure when you consider the impact coronavirus has had and the amount of football we did miss. He's still learning about this squad. And when you also consider that we've only really spent money on Gabriel this window, there's still a lot of work to be done in the next 2 weeks. And when you look at it in those terms and the fact we've only got 2 weeks left and we've still got so many players to ship out and you would hope a few more additions to come in, it's really coming down to the wire, and we do still have some business to complete. When you look at the way we played yesterday and how concerning it was at times, you really do see that we need someone to open up teams, and we were able to do it for the likes of Bukayo Saka, who I thought was excellent last night, and the likes of Aubameyang, Dani Ceballos, the way they all link up and interchange, and when it does click, it's really cohesive and the chemistry is clear to see. But when it doesn't quite work and when we are struggling to break teams down that do sit in a deep block, not that West Ham really did that yesterday. I actually thought they were quite expressive, quite attacking, but we do sometimes occasionally struggle against sides. Ironically, I think we play a lot better against the likes of Liverpool, City, because we know how to play against them. We sit a bit more defensively and we've got so much pace, so much energy on the counter, and so many tricky individuals that are able to dictate games like Granit Xhaka, Dani Ceballos. I think they really flourish in those sort of games. But last night, not that I want to pick out individuals, but I thought everyone was really poor, to be honest, in that first half. Second half, I thought we picked up ever so slightly. In the first 5, 10 minutes, we really came out, really started to assert some dominance in the game. But compared to the performance against Fulham, we were just nowhere near at the same level. No one could string passes together. Xhaka gave the ball away a few times. Gabriel gave it away. Leno's distribution, I thought, was particularly poor in that first half. And yeah, as I say, there's no point highlighting individuals because something, for whatever reason, didn't quite click in the way that it did in that game against Fulham. And it was interesting because we went with a virtually identical lineup. The only 2 players that changed, well, there were 3 players that changed, of course, with Kolasinac coming in very late for Kieran Tierney. I think that did have a huge impact on our left-hand side. You've got to remember as well that our whole left-hand side, apart from Aubameyang up top, changed completely. We had Saka in for Maitland-Niles and we had Kolasinac in for Kieran Tierney. And I think particularly Kolasinac coming in for Tierney had a huge impact on our defence. And I thought we looked a lot worse without Tierney in the side. And I'll get onto that in a little bit. But I also think Dani Ceballos had a particularly poor game. And when things don't quite work in the midfield, then we really don't seem to click in the way that we need to. And yeah, as I say, there's no point in me talking about individuals because in the first half, it just didn't work for whatever reason. And it's just so obvious that we need to bring another addition into that midfield. We all know the names we're talking about. I'm not going to reiterate them, but there's a desperate crying out need for some creativity in there to break down the likes of West Ham United. But then again, I don't think our front three were particularly elegant. I don't think William was as good as he was in the game against Fulham. Don't think he was bad. Don't think he was excellent. Aubameyang and Lacazette really struggled to impose themselves on this game in the first half. But Aubameyang got the assist for the first goal. Lacazette put the goal away. That's what they're there to do. And even if they're not contributing in massive ways throughout the whole game, they are players that are there to get those chances, to create those opportunities and to ultimately score goals. And it was great to see Lacazette score, but also Nketiah to score. That'll do our strikers the world of good. We need more individuals scoring in the team. I think that's something we really struggled with last season. Aubameyang was getting all our goals, but it's great that Lacazette is scoring a few more. I hope that really continues. And even if he'll stay at the club, I mean, there's speculation still about him being an Arsenal player, but he started this season in the best possible way, 2-2. And Nketiah got his first goal of the season. That's exactly what you want to see. And yeah, I'm very excited about what this group of players can achieve. And having that variety of goal scorers is something that, as I say, we lacked last season and we really needed to bring in this season. And slowly but surely we are starting to do that. So it takes the pressure off of Aubameyang a little bit, and it really does help the overall team morale, I think. But defensively, this is where I'm concerned because you know, we've got so many players still to come back. We've got Saliba to come in, and you'd hope he'd start in the game in midweek in the Carabao Cup. And obviously, Tierney coming back will make a huge difference instead of Kolasinac. But Kolasinac, I thought, highlighted exactly why we possibly need to move this guy on. In fact, I don't even think it's possible. I do think we need to move him on. And I don't think it's a case of he's a bad player. I just don't think he necessarily works in the system. I don't think he's a player that we can look to for the long term. And I just don't think he's a good enough backup option for someone like Kieran Tierney. That left centre-back role just doesn't seem to suit him. He's just not... He fills me with a lot of worry, and the same goes for Rob Holding, actually. I thought Rob Holding was pretty fine against Fulham, but yesterday evening, I mean, him and Kolasinac, I really think could have done an awful lot better on the goal that we conceded. They just caught in no man's land, the pair of them. And I think Granit Xhaka could have done well, could have done a lot better, should I say. He could have tracked back a bit faster, but yeah... they really did stand out for me as players that we need to upgrade on. And I think we're all aware that Saliba will come in at some point. David Luiz will probably start starting games soon. Kieran Tierney will come back in. But it's interesting to see, will we stick with this back three? Will we go to a back four at some point and go a bit more attack-minded? But what I'm liking with Arsenal at the moment is we've got players for different situations. And that's something we've lacked for an awful long time. I mean, El Neni is a player that we don't want to see starting week in, week out. But for games away from home, if he plays in the way he did against Fulham and the same way he did in the Community Shield against Liverpool, he's a viable option. And the same goes for someone like Maitland-Niles. He's a good option to have on that left-hand side away from home, a bit more defensive-minded, but also still has those attacking capabilities. It's good to have all these options, and I'm very, very excited about the different players we've got, the different situations we can line up in. And yeah, it's a very good time to be an Arsenal supporter, but I also think it's very evident that we need to upgrade and we need to bring in someone else if we are to make a serious challenge this season for the top four. And I'm looking at the teams around us. I mean, Chelsea have just lost 2-0 to Liverpool. Granted, they got a red card, but they didn't look at all convincing in that game, and they didn't look particularly convincing against Brighton either. And I'm looking at United, who just got battered at home to Crystal Palace, losing 3-1. You know, I think we've got all the capabilities to make a serious push for top four this season. I don't think it's going to be a better opportunity for us to do it. And defensively, we know we're going to improve. We've got Saliba, we've got Mari. You know, we've even got Mustafi, who was very good towards the end of last season. But I think we're all very aware that these next 2 weeks are going to be particularly exciting to be an Arsenal fan, because we've got so many players to ship out, and we've also got so many players to... Well, I say so many players. It'll probably be 2 more additions at the very most to bring in. And hopefully these will be players that will make the difference in the midfield, because that's where we desperately need to improve. We are, at this point, I honestly feel we are 2 players away from being a real top-class side. I know it's a big statement, but when you look at the players we've got, I think we've got some really good options in some really good positions. Bringing Willian in, I think, was a masterstroke. I think he's been very good. He was in that game against Fulham, as I say, not quite the enigmatic presence he was against Fulham last night against West Ham, but still such a good option to have. And when you think that we've still got Nicolas Pepe on the bench and all the players that aren't even making the bench, you've got the likes of Reece Nelson as well, Cedric Suarez. These players didn't even make the bench yesterday. We've got so many good options, as I say, and Pepe's a player that, granted, hasn't started a game yet this season. You'd hope he'd get an opportunity against Leicester in the Cup. But he's a player that I think when things do start to click for him that bit more, we'll see him displace Willian. And it will be, I think at home, it will maybe be a front three of Lacazette, Aubameyang and Pepe. And then away from home, it might be Lacazette, Aubameyang, Willian. As I say, good options, such good options to have. And I'm just excited about what this team can achieve this season. And winning games like that last night, as I say, isn't convincing, but getting 3 points when we've got so many tough games coming up is absolutely essential. And on that note, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Please do let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments box below. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it, and as always, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Is that what I say? Subscribe to the channel if you're new. No, it's as always, thanks for watching, guys. Yeah, so as always, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll speak to you soon. See you later.